Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Last Life Ever podcast.
Wow, you're in a cheery mood today, Jillian Sidoti.
I don't know why I felt like opening with song.
It wasn't even very good song. You've done better songs on our show before.
How dare you?
You are in prime form. Hey, everyone, this is the Last Life Ever podcast. My name is Jeffrey Hulst, and that young lady over there, who's older than me, is Jillian Sidoti.
I will remind everybody I'm only older by 4 months.
Hey, still older.
Yes. As Jeff will tell you, I'm older by 3 months and 24 days.
Wow, nice math. I've never actually told anyone that. I usually just say 4 months because I round. But hey, you know what? This is super off topic, and we have a guest waiting backstage.
And she is awesome. Her name is Wendy Bird. She's a certified high performance coach. I probably need her in my life. She's an international keynote speaker. I want to hear about that, how she got into that, and a humanitarian. But she's also a mom to 5 kids. How does this woman do it? Well, that's why she's a high performance coach, because she performs at a high level. So she started a Pearls with Purpose Foundation, and we're going to talk to her all about that because that is awesome. Jeff, let's get started.
Help me, my brother, can you lend me a hand as I walk through this land of confusion? If we give to each other, then there's nothing to take. Let's live life for the moment before it slips away.
Hey, Wendy, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thanks. It's so great to be here.
What's it mean to be a high performance coach? How can I perform high? Tell me.
How can you be one, or how can you get one?
Like, what does it mean to perform high? I guess is the best way to put it. Like, does it mean doing as many things as you can? Does it mean doing one thing really well? That's really what I want to get down to, because I struggle with that.
I will just give you the soundbite. The soundbite is, when you are living a high-performing life, you are able to be productive and have natural energy and influence others and create sustained levels of joy for the better part of your life. And so it's actually a proven process system that was created by Brendon Burchard. This is not a plug for him, but he's an amazing guru with 20 plus years in the psychological and physiological aspects of being able to be a high performer. I got into it like 2015.
Okay.
I will tell you that I went to my birthday party that my daughter surprised me with, and she did a video where she had each of the kids and grandkids do 5 words that reminded them of me. And I had just done like my, 40th surgery, 42nd surgery. And I was on a knee scooter and I couldn't walk. And I remember sitting there watching this movie of me, like interacting with my kids, and all these words popping up of, authentic, spontaneous, fun, enthusiastic. And I'm like, that's not me. That's not me. That's not, like, I was so empty inside because of everything I'd been through that I couldn't even relate to how the world was seeing me. And I just started crying, and I was like, what is wrong? What's going on? Like, I have no motivation. I don't have clarity. I'm not productive. I am just getting by the skin of my teeth. And I drove home from her house, and it was 11 o'clock at night. I turned on the radio, and this voice comes on and says, are you lacking motivation? Could you use some inspiration in your life? Have my free book, The Motivation Manifesto. And it was Brendon Burchard, and I'd never heard of him, never heard of The Motivation Manifesto. And I did something I'd never done in my life before. I ordered a book off the radio on the phone, driving 70 miles an hour at 11:30 at night. And the book,
given your propensity to be in accidents, that might not have been the
I know,
smartest
right?
decision.
You should know, I got hit by a car twice. I did not cause the accident. They hit me.
So I just want to let you know that Brendan Bouchard, his course was the first like self-development course I've ever bought. So I'm a huge fan. I've hung out with him before. Yeah. So I'm very aware of his methodologies. I had his planner. I didn't love the planner. Sorry, Brendan.
Good, you should do mine. Awesome. I loved his. I used it for like 3 years straight. It's like, boom, right there.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, it just needs a little, twist. So I did the twist.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I'm excited to see your twist. But Brendan Bouchard is an amazing coach. So you buy this manifesto. What happens next?
So I'm a cyclist, and I was training for Lodija. And it's a 206-mile race from one day from Logan, Utah to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And so it has 3 really steep climbs. And I learned about 12 weeks prior that I had to have my 43rd surgery, which was a hip replacement. And I remember in that moment, I'm done. I'm so done trying to take care of this body, trying to do what I need to do. And I turned to the Motivation Manifesto, and I had a fellow cyclist, and he's like, Wendy, I know what you need to do. You need to buy a new bike. And I'm like, you're such an idiot. I'm not going to spend $3,000 or $5,000 on a bike when I can't ride for 12 weeks and I may not be able to do this race. And he said, you're going to buy the bike. You're going to put it at the foot of your bed. And every morning when you get up, you're going to say, I'm going to ride that bike in 12 weeks, 10 weeks, 7 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 days, 3 days. So I did that. And there was a lot of faith in that every morning wake up statement. And I hit October 21st and I got on the bike, and there was a couple inches of snow, did a couple miles, but I rode the bike, right? The whole idea was riding the bike. And I learned it was so much about our mindset. It was so much of mindset over physical disability. It's all what we tell ourselves and what we're saying to ourselves, and the dialogue with the monkeys in our head that really is going to dictate what we do in our life.
Wow. Do you think it was like the visualization of the bike itself, like having it there in front of you, like a girl who wants to lose weight, hangs the bikini up or what have you? What do you think the linchpin in that whole operation was?
I think the linchpin was my core value is definitely authenticity and integrity. And once I started saying I'm going to write it, I knew that if that 12 weeks had ended and I did not get on it, I was going to be breaking a commitment to myself. And I knew that would take me out of alignment with one of my own core principles, which is, to be your word, to walk the walk. And so for me, I think it was more about the integrity of it, because I have hung the bikini up before and it didn't work for me. So
yeah,
it was still like, no, those frozen ding dongs are so good. So, the bikini.
I've never hung a bikini up, by the way, just so you know. It's not something I've done.
And that's another topic for another
I
day.
might have gotten really drunk and tried my mother-in-law's on once, though, but don't tell anyone I said that. Oh, wait, we're live. Oops.
Oh, wait.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, my God. Really? Seriously? We're doing this now? Okay. So he's not kidding. That's the funny thing.
People would have thought I was kidding if you hadn't told them the truth, Jillian. The real question is, why did I tell you that story before?
We're a show of authenticity, Jeff.
It's true. One of my core values is authenticity and honesty.
A little too much sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, okay. Yeah.
So this is obviously like a big leap for you, because I get that feeling. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think there's people who are watching this or listening to this who know exactly what you're talking about, where you have this stumble and people tell you you're going to be all right, you're okay, you're all these great things, and you fail to believe it because you had this stumble, I guess. And I'm wondering, so you get motivated and you get on the bike, but what happens after the bike? You can't just like go, oh, I rode a couple miles after I bought the super expensive bike. The end. I did it. Yay. Was there a shift in your mind at that point? Was there like a light bulb?
So then, of course, the dialogue begins with, okay, you did 2 miles. So what's next? Right. So your dialogue continues in that format of what infrastructure do I need to have in place that's going to check me to ensure that I, continue to be a good cyclist. I'm not looking for Olympic quality. That's, I'm 54. I couldn't care less. I just want to ride a bike because I have fake hips and I can't do running anymore. So biking is my option. And so it was more like, okay, this is your form of exercise. And I do love going on the descent. Like I love cycling. And so it was all about the challenge. And so it becomes, okay, so next week you're going to do 10 miles and the following week you're going to do 30 and you stack it.
So then how does this parlay into Pearls with Purpose?
So Pearls with Purpose actually existed a whole decade and a half before. I started that in the early 2000s, back in the AOL dial-up days, which I don't recommend. And that was me at home with 5 kids under the age of 10. And for a decade, I had either been nursing, changing diapers, toilet training, or pregnant, and had honestly lost my identity. I just didn't know who I was anymore. And I remember turning to my husband and just like, I need to do something. And I'm a certified gemologist. He's like, why don't you make some jewelry and go sell it at Saturday's market? And I was like, oh, that's a fun idea. That'll bring out my creativity because our brains are wired for the unique. We're constantly seeking the creative, the different, the unique. And so I was like, oh, but what would I focus on? I started researching, fell in love with pearls. I just love their natural authenticity. I love that they are formed from an irritant that turns into a beautiful gemstone over the course of time and a lot of secretion of nacre. And so I just love that concept because it was so human-like. We're all irritants. And so I sent out 20 random emails. I made up the names, pearls for sale at hotmail.com, pearls at Edzamel, pearl jewelry, pearl gemstones. And I got several factory responses over the course of a week. And then I got a live response from a woman who was in the Philippines. And in the body of her email, she said, if you import finished pieces of jewelry from me rather than loose pearls, you'll change women's lives in my country. And I couldn't sleep.
You can't ignore that.
No, I was like, what does it mean? I live here. You're in some place I've never heard of. And I've never been to, so how would that work? And so for the next 4 years, we just exchanged emails and jewelry training and designs and gemstones and training modules back and forth over AOL, dial-up. Again, not recommended. It was so tedious. It's like pulling molasses, when you look at where we are today. And then I went and met her in the Philippines in 2005. I was shocked because everything she had conveyed to me over email about, oh, so-and-so's husband is sick, or, oh, so-and-so's child is hungry, was, oh, so-and-so's husband died because he didn't have an asthma inhaler, and so-and-so's child is malnourished and begging in the streets. And so she was out finding these women in the squatters' villages, and I was over here, in America going, okay, I'm telling all my friends and family about this beautiful jewelry you make, and I'm sharing your story, and I'm trying to move product. And I was not looking to start a nonprofit, but at the end of the day, the reality was the secret to their success was long-term self-reliance, because you can give a handout, but that is not a hand up. And the hand up is what allows an individual to create their own dignity and change their life. And so we really focused on the micro-enterprise training component. And then we got invited in Thailand with the tsunami survivors, and then to India and the leprosy afflicted area, and then Cambodia with an orphanage, and then Kenya, Africa, and then Dominican Republic with Operation Underground Railroad to do their aftercare program for women rescued from sex trafficking. And so it just kind of grew and grew and grew to where we are pre-COVID.
No, I love this. And, I actually have a very similar story. I was having a crisis of self many years ago. And I made this post on Facebook, like, I feel like I am not living with purpose. And a woman and this is like 3:30 in the morning. You know, I truly was having a crisis. And a woman reaches out to me and she goes, I really need you to talk to my friend Katie. She could really use your help. I saw your post and I think I know exactly what you need to do. And it turned out it was this woman who is American who got a call to go to Mozambique, Africa, and pull women off of the street in human trafficking situations. And so I just started doing things for them.
Wow.
And weirdly enough, our name is Project Purpose International. And part of our thing is getting them to make goods out of old bras. Like you send your old bras to them and they'll make stuff out of them, or, bread baskets.
Are they the ones that do Brawlapalooza every year?
That's not our organization, but we that's what we provide to, and it's a whole network of people and organizations that. So now I'm intrigued because I see that it works. And we've been, for years, she's been telling me, we got to start making products and selling products. And we just never have gotten around to it. It's always just been, I've gone out and made money and then gave them the money for whatever they needed. It's not a very good system.
Well, it just has a ceiling, sadly,
Yeah, it does. It does. And so, when they freak out and go, we don't have a car anymore, I come up with the money for the car. And it might take me a couple of months as opposed to being able to just write a check or something like that. So this is extremely exciting for me on a personal level. And everybody, I'm on pearlswithpurpose.org right now. And the jewelry is absolutely...
It's very beautiful, yeah.
It is beautiful jewelry. It's very high quality. I'm looking at it. I'm not touching it, but it's absolutely beautiful. I'm definitely going to buy a couple of pieces of jewelry for gifts and stuff like that. Or just, you also, guys, if you don't want jewelry, if you're not a jewelry person, I personally am not a huge jewelry person, but I would buy these as gifts. You can always make a donation. It's right on their website, pearlswithpurpose.org. So go check that out. That is an awesome story. I mean, just incredible. It's almost like you were aligned with the universe.
It's a great story, but you haven't even heard the coolest story she's going to tell us yet.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
I think there's an even better story hidden here. I want to hear about the purple dress. Please tell us about that.
So this is a book that we finally got illustrated. This is like a labor of like 10 years. And it's a true story. And it's actually my daughter. And so the true story is listed in the back. And back in 2006, she was in a wedding and she was like 8 years old. And I was like, Jerica, you've outgrown the dress. You should donate it. No, it's my favorite dress. And I was like, come on, just give it up. Because we ship containers. So she did begrudgingly. And then 2 years passed. And at that point, we were shipping to about 22 provinces. We've shipped a little over 2,600 containers so far. And we were invited to do a documentary with 2 other organizations. And so we went to our areas in Antipolo and Bulacan, and then we were heading over to a town called Legazpi City, where I'd never been. And I was with my oldest daughter. And as we got off the bus, we were walking down this dusty road, and this little girl darted down the street, and my daughter grabbed my arm and said, Mom, that's Jerica's purple dress. And I'm like, there's no way. Like, it shipped 2 years ago. Like, there's no way. We have no idea where those boxes ended up. She goes, Mom, that is her dress. And so we go chasing after this poor girl, and we stop her in the road, and I'm just like, hey, what's your name? Oh, it's Grace. Oh, that's a beautiful dress. Where'd you get it? 2 years ago, an angel from America shipped boxes to my village, and my family was chosen to pick out items. I'd always wanted a dress to wear to church on Sunday. And then she spins around, and when she spun around, I could see on the back where 2 buttons were missing, which is why Jerica finally relented to donating it. And I'm bawling. My daughter's like snapping pictures, and Grace took us out to her family in the jungle. And she's like the oldest of 9 kids. She was 12. And one of her little brothers shimmied up a tree and chopped down some coconuts and macheted them open. And I was just so humbled because Grace runs in this little squatter's hut, and she's like, come. And we go in, and there's, that typical dirt floor, corrugated sheet metal roof, and just literally like the 10 by 10 space for 11 people. And there's one rusted metal wire hanger. And she quickly pulls off her dress and pulls on a tattered t-shirt and shorts, and she hangs the dress on this hanger and hangs it over on the corner of the straw. And I'm just like, oh my God, like it's such a prized possession. And then she comes outside and I said, that's so neat that you hung up your dress. She goes, yeah, my sister will get it someday and then she'll be happy like me. And I'm just bawling.
Oh my God.
And so we portray the story with this manga style of drawing that we hope will resonate with individuals. And then my daughter's nickname is Little Mouse. And so you have a little mouse that's kind of hidden on all the pages here.
Where can we get this book? Oh God, I have to have that book. I must have that book. That book must be mine. So I will get that as soon as it comes up.
Yeah, it's out. We've got the hard copy and then we've got a soft copy. And the hard one for the first 100 prints is coming with a little girl's bracelet, a pearl bracelet.
Oh, very good. I want to read that book to my boys because I don't think they understand. We do, the adopted children in Africa and they get pictures every once in a while, but I don't think they get the impact of those donations every month.
Bam.
Absent of getting, a 24-hour flight over to the Philippines or whatever, or Africa or where have you. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to convey that message, and that book sounds like it will do it beautifully.
Yeah, it really would. I can tell you, so my oldest was 16 when we opened up in Thailand, and we went over there to work at the co-op, and we were having a lot of problems with the tsunami devastation and everything. There was just rebar and cinder blocks and just a lot of sharp things just buried in the dirt from the tsunami. And I told my oldest son, we were in the co-op building, which it's tight quarters. And I was just like, could you just find something else to do? Because he's like 6'4". He's a big kid. And he left, the building, and I didn't think anything of it. And then like 4 hours passed and, he comes in, he's like, is there a shovel? I need a shovel. I'm like, I don't know, go ask the villagers. And we're working on the training in the co-op. And then the translator came up and she's like, you're going to miss your flight. Like it's 4:00, you got to go. And I was like, oh my gosh, because we lose track of time really easily. And we go running out to get in the rental car. And Jordan is just this muddy mess. That's my oldest. And he had literally built a sidewalk. He had dug and trenched out all this rebar and cinder blocks. And from the front door of the co-op clear out to the street, he'd done this 18-inch, like 2-foot deep thing. And he had just packed it down with some mud and stuff. And he was just this muddy mess. And I was like, oh my gosh. He goes, Mom, I built a sidewalk. And I was like, that's amazing. We got to go. We're going to miss our flight. And we pile in the car. And as we go along the coastline of Bonham Kem, he's looking out the window out at the beach. And I realized I had promised him for like 3 days, we're going to go to the beach. We're going to go to the beach. We're going to go see tiger. We're going to go ride an elephant. And none of that had happened because the work had gotten in the way. And I said, oh my gosh, Jordan, are the beaches calling your name? And he goes, no, Mom, I need to go build another sidewalk. And he just starts crying. And I was like, what? And he goes, Mom, I've never felt more needed in my life than when I built that sidewalk. And this is a kid who, for the previous 8 years, was raised with a humanitarian mom who was helping me sort boxes and gather items for the containers. And I said, Jordan, and I said, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I'm all doing that for you. He goes, but this time I did it for others. And I was just like, wow. So here's a kid with a humanitarian nonprofit mom who at the age of 16 and a half didn't even comprehend purpose until he was able to go into a remote village and actually of his own volition say, I'm going to do this. Like I'm going to give of my time, my resources, whatever.
Wow. How cool is that?
I think every kid before they graduate high school needs to live in a developing country for 4 weeks without their cell phone. Like I swear to God, that would make such a difference in the world.
Well, I think anyone would benefit from living without a cell phone in a developing country for 4 weeks.
Well, yeah, not just kids, but
it changes your perspective, even if you have your cell phone, to spend some real time somewhere. I was just telling this to someone recently, right? I've been in Puerto Rico now for just over 4 weeks. And Puerto Rico is not a developing country, but I have a different perspective on Puerto Rico than I did. And I've been here 10 times almost before this, or at least 7 or 8. I don't know. I didn't count them, but a few times before. And I have a completely different perspective. And I feel the same way about Tanzania, which is a place I spent some significant time, and in Cairo, another place I spent a big chunk of time. Those places changed me. going to Europe was awesome. I love it, right? It's cool.
Well, Europe's a lot like America, but
I mean, I realize it's a lot like America, but I think there's something to be said about just stopping and immersing yourself in a different culture even.
yeah.
Particularly, like you said, in a developing country where there's places where there's extreme poverty and overwhelming need, right? It changes you.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. I'm flummoxed right now because I don't know how quickly I can get my kids to a third world country to start helping people.
I can help with that. I take a lot of people over, so feel free to come with us anytime.
I think I might take you up on that, particularly with my older two children. Maybe not so much my youngest. He's 6.
Give the 6-year-old another decade.
But my 13-year-old and 10-year-old could definitely use a little adjustment.
Yeah.
And you do what you can, right? You try to take them to go volunteer, you have them donate money, you have them collect cans or what have you. But just living in a well-to-do part of America, which we do, we live in Southern California, you're not exposed to that. You're just not. You're simply not exposed to extreme poverty. Even when they're exposed to poverty, they're not exposed to poverty. Like, we volunteer at the food pantry. People pull up to the food pantry to get their food in their car. So they're already doing better than, 10% of the world. I mean, 90% of the world, rather. Yeah.
Yeah. 2/3 of the world is in extreme poverty, which is under $1 a day. One of the most insightful things to me along those lines is just how transparent it becomes for an individual as they go into these developing countries and they witness it, how they all of a sudden realize what priorities all are. Because everywhere we've gone, despite the lacking, there is always abundance. There's abundance of love, abundance of connection, abundance of joy, abundance of laughter. And it doesn't matter the country or the situation. They don't look at it from that perspective of lacking. And I think the number one question I've had in the last 20 years is, how, kind of like what you said in your moment of crisis, how do I get purpose? And I've learned it isn't about how you get it, because I've had dozens of thousands of people come up and say, can I go build a school? Can I go do this? Can I go do this humanitarian thing? And it's like, no. Like, stay where you are and make the difference there. It isn't about traveling overseas. It's about, are you willing to smile? It's about changing your words to change the world. And as you do that, instead of saying, why is that person poor? You can say, how could I help that individual? Instead of saying, why don't they have food? You can say, when can I donate some time at the soup kitchen, like you're doing? It's all about changing our words. Like, what type of education can you get so that you can go do immunizations in developing countries? What can you do because you are one of the lucky to live in 1/3 of the world where you have so many blessings?
Let's get right down to this and we'll wrap up after this. You said a lot of things there and I was listening intently, but I'm not sure I clearly understood. How do you frame it so that you take action?
You change your words.
What are the words you use? I guess that's my question.
The words typically are, I can't, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You start saying, I can.
I can.
Just
Okay.
I can't do this doesn't mean you can't do that. Just because.
So, like, what can I do okay. So what can I do? And just start making a list.
Yeah. I'm here in
Okay.
America. I have affluence. What can I do? You've mentioned it already several times, Jillian. It sounds like you're very humanitarian minded. You make donations. You're involved with other organizations. You've gone to soup kitchens. And we cannot, for the love of God, we cannot look at poverty and start judging it and weighing it against other poverty.
No, I have a very hard time with that.
We don't know the story behind the story, right? And so we don't know why that individual is struggling. And we have to just honor the individual and just love them openly and value them.
I'm going to take your advice. I'm actually writing this down in my little handy notebook right here. And I'm going to, what can I do? I'm on a constant quest to give away as much money as possible. I'm also on a constant quest to make as much money as possible. So they're dichotomous, I guess, in a lot of ways. But I'm trying to figure out how to balance it properly. And I'm not sure I'm always using my resources appropriately. So this is, and by resources, I don't mean just money. I mean time too. All my resources. I don't know if I'm doing it the right way. And so I'm going to make this list. I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to come back and report to you guys on Last Life Ever, and tell you exactly what my results were. And with that, Jeff, what's our final question for Miss Bird here today? Other than, do you know anything about Ozarks?
Yeah, let's ask that one first.
Well, it's funny. I had to have a surgery, as always, and as I came out of it, and they were talking about Wendy Bird and the Ozarks, and my only familiarity with it was I'd seen a few episodes and realized, oh my gosh, she's such a bad person. And the surgeon was just like, man, when you were under the knife, he's like, you were very adamant that you were not Wendy Bird, the money launderer. You kept saying,
my
I'm a
God.
humanitarian.
Are
I'm
you
not the money
serious?
launderer. And I was like,
Oh, that's
"You're
so
kidding."
funny.
And yeah, so I was
That's
very
funny.
protective of my name during surgery when I started to look
Well,
up aesthetic.
I'm
You
glad I
know,
asked that question. That was a good one. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So for what it's worth, I'm a big fan of the show. I do agree with
watched
you
the
that
whole
she's a
thing.
terrible person,
Yeah,
but she's a fascinating character.
right? It's just totally fascinating. But I'm like, I would never have done any of the stuff she did.
I would hope not, actually. So, all right. Well, that wasn't our last question. We have one question we like to ask every single guest, and that is, and I think I already know what you're going to say, but I will ask it anyway. What does it mean to you to live the best version of your last life ever?
Honestly, it's just love openly and value everyone. LOVE. Just love openly. We don't know the behind the scenes. And how much time do we have? I have a super fast story.
Oh, yeah, we got time. Tell it.
Because I had to learn this lesson. I mean, we all learned the lesson of unconditional love in some form or another. And I learned it through the manager we have in Philippines. When we opened up in India in 2010, so 11 years ago, I learned what love actually was. And it humbled me to a point of no return. And it's changed my life forever. She's in the Philippines. She's got a 2-year-old son, husband. We're in India. We show up for training with one other person. And we're told we're going to have 10 to 20 people to train. And we go to training on the first day, and 183 leprosy afflicted women show up for training.
Wow.
And there's 2 of us and 20 training kids. And the vice president's daughter, Padma Venkatraman, was like, train them all. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I called Lanny and I said, can you get to India like tonight? And she got on a flight that night and she came out. We picked her up we went to pick her up at midnight. There was a bunch of delay. By the time we got her, it was 2:30 in the morning because of visa problems. And by the time we got out to the leprosy area, it was 5:30 in the morning. And we had to leave at 8 in the morning to get to the training center by 9. And so we had no time for coordination. She's just my best jeweler and my best trainer. And I knew I could count on her. And so we go out to this co-op, and we are dirt floors and hot, no AC, no light, no fan, and 100 degrees humidity. And we're just on the ground and we're training. And all day long, she's, touching their hands, holding tools, teaching, wrapping, touching, and just loving these women. And we end at 5:30, transport picks us up, takes us back to the hostel. And we're laying on these mats on the ground. We don't stay at Marriott's. And we're just a hot, sweaty mess. And she turns her head to me and she's like, Wendy, when do I die from the leprosy? And I look at her and I said, Lanny, what? And she goes, I know I've touched their hands and now I have this disease. I just want to know how much longer I have with my son. Will I raise him? And I'm like, Lanny, you're not going to die. You're not going to get left. She goes, no. I touched them. I know. And it's okay because they are my sisters and they needed my help. I just need to know how long I have. And in that moment, I realized the entire day, she was serving complete strangers out of unconditional love, in her mind thinking, I'm going to get a disease. I'm going to die, but it will be worth it. And so I had this conversation with her about leprosy, that you have to be genetically predisposed, and she wasn't going to get it. And she just starts crying. She goes, oh, I'm so glad I can raise my child now. And that's Lanny. And I learned that, from her. And this is a girl who didn't see a toothbrush till she was 18. And by then she'd lost all of her teeth. She's had dentures since 18. And, she's now almost 50. And I mean, she just loves openly and values everyone.
Well, so I didn't predict that, turns out, so I'm glad I asked the question.
That is such a great story. We're going to end. Wendy, because I don't want to say anything else after that. Wendy, thank you so much for being here today. This was an amazing interview. If you just caught it at the end, you need to go back to the beginning and watch it all the way through. Love openly, everyone, and value everyone, LOVE. That is the message today. Thank you, everyone. Wendy, again, I want to bring you back for sure because this was awesome. And everybody else will be right back. That music feels oddly inappropriate right now.
It did kind of. Yeah. Wow. So, yeah, we need to get a second one that we use for like really serious moments. That's a little bit more subtle.
I know. Then on this episode of the Last Life Ever podcast.
This is like the 4th time I've cried on our show now. So there is that. So congratulations to Wendy for being number 4.
I'm tough as nails. I don't cry about nothing. No way. No how. All right. Listen, normally at this point in time, we wrap up the show, but I think that interview speaks for itself. And I want everybody to just kind of reflect on it, meditate on it, because that was a real eye opener for me. I would honestly say in probably the last year, I've acted relatively selfishly in that, or maybe not so much selfishly, but very self-centeredly. And so that really resonated with me. Jeff is frozen.
No, I'm not
so
frozen.
Oh, he's just reflecting.
I was reflecting. Yeah, I was reflecting on what you said. You said we're going to end the show, and I thought I'd let you end the show.
Oh, okay. Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. And Jeff wants to remind you to
live the best version of your last life ever.